Hey, I'm Jason Devastation. I'm here in New York City at Hairstory Studio, and this is my model Jordan. And today I'm going to be demonstrating for you a clipper cut. We're going to do a pretty tight fade on him. Already his hair is pretty short, so I'm going to fade it up really close. Probably I'm going to start with a 1 and see how that feels, and if I need to go shorter I can. And take it up to about here, just above the temple, and start my fade. We're not going to do too much to the top because he's growing his hair out and there's some already really fun stuff going on, so we're just going to leave that how it is today. Now I am brushing up his hair so that the curls separate and I can get the clipper in a little bit more so that I can get a more clean, even cut. If I wasn't to brush it out, I would probably get a more uneven cut. The curls would still be grabbing each other and I'd be trying to go underneath them or cut through them. So this separates the hair. So we're gonna get started. I'm using an Oster 76 clipper. That's just my preference. Some people like to use a clipper that has a movable blade. I like detachable blades. I'm gonna start with a 1 and just clip that on. One thing about clipper cutting that I think is really important that a lot of people, I'll turn this off so you can hear me better, that people don't realize is that when you start, you don't want to have the person's head away from you. You really want to keep it level, whether you're working in the back or on the sides. Like if I do this, right, then I have to get above him. So keep it like this so that when I start, I don't get any, it helps me to have like the scooping action that I want. And I'm going to stretch his skin so that I get a better grip on the hair. And I just sort of scoop with the blade as I move my way up. The scooping allows me to not create lines. I start from the bottom and work my way up. Some people will clip their end length that they want and then work in sections going down. Again, it's a personal preference. I just like to work my way up. It helps me to control the shape that I want to create a little bit better. So I'm just working my way up to that point that I said, it's right about here, just above the temple, at the parietal ridge. I can already see that it's not taking very much hair off with a 1, so I'm probably going to go a little bit shorter. So I'm starting with a 0. Again, I'm going to start at the temple. I'm going to put my blade in, and I'm going to scoop my way up. And stretching the skin. If I put the blade in and I don't stretch the skin, then it bunches and it can be uncomfortable for the client. But if I stretch, then I get a more even cut and it's more comfortable for them. So I always start here at the temple and work my way back. Part of the reason for that is that you're going to see the front first, right? So I really want to control my shape starting here and work my way back. I follow the bone structure as I go along. I'm going to pull his ear back here so that I can get those fine hairs above the ear. Again, I'm just gently scooping as I go up. And then I'm going to come from behind and start at the nape of the neck and work my way up behind the ear until I meet my previous cut. Bone structure is a really important part of barbering that I think a lot of people overlook. There's a lot of pieces here that can guide you in your process. You know, places where bones protrude can help you to determine, like, maybe that's where I want to lift up on my blade, maybe that's where I want to transition from one length to the next. You know, it gives a little bit more individuality to each haircut so that you're not just doing these 1, 2, 3 clipper cuts that people have come to expect from a barber. Again, I'm going to keep his head up, hold the ear down. I'm going to lift as I go. And I just do like this as I work around the head. And I'm just cleaning some of the hair off of the blade. And so I'm coming up to the occipital bone. So it's important too because I'm stretching his skin and I'm lifting the hair that I'm cutting above the bone there. But so you should pay attention to where it is when it's not stretched and then where it is when you do stretch it, so that as you go up, you know that you haven't cut above it. So it comes back down. There's his parietal bone. And it can be a lot to think about, like in the course of a haircut, but like how I just brought his head back, it gets away from me too. But just check in with your physical space, you know, like what you're doing. I'm gonna go to the front, and then I'm gonna meet it in the back. Starting at the temple in front of the ear, stretch the skin. I'm looking for the parietal ridge. I see it, stretch the skin, and cut up. So I'm going to start in the back like I did on the other side, and here I'm pulling the skin down, whereas I was pulling it up before. Here I'm pulling the skin down so that I can get a better grip on the hairs at the nape of his neck. And I'll work my way up until I meet my previous cuts. Once I get up here to around the occipital bone, I am going to lift up and stretch the skin up this way. Okay. So I'm going to visually check my lines in the mirror so I can see the balance from one side to the other. In the front, I can take a step back. It's really important to like not be right up in their face, but just take a step back, get some perspective, and I can see here that I'm even on both sides. So now I am going to switch blades and move up a grade. So I was using a 0. Now I'm going to move up to a 1. A 0 into a 1 doesn't blend seamlessly, so I'll probably have to go back and do a little bit more blending in between these blades. Starting in the front like I did before, I'm going to work around the head in the same exact fashion, following the same pattern. And so here I'm going to lift and scoop. And don't be shy about moving their ears out of the way or moving their heads around as needed. They want a good haircut, and you gotta do what you gotta do. Then I'm just working around the head. I'm gonna go up over the occipital bone and lift off. When I'm doing fades and talking about bone structure, right? So like I tend to follow, goes a little bit higher here, up over the ear, and follows the bone down. And it just creates a more attractive line when you go with the flow of their natural head shape. That's not always the case, it's just a design preference. You know, each haircut's gonna be different depending on what the style is that you're looking for. But today, that's what I'm looking for. Come around to the front again. So with a 1. Lift and scoop. Again, I'm scooping because I don't want to create hard lines between the blade lengths that are just harder to get out later in the process. So I'm just saving myself a little bit of work. So I can just get in there and scoop it out rather than going up and stopping. You can already see the fade starting to come together. And I'm going to meet my work in the back. And then I'm going to move to a 1A. which is a blending blade, and it will help me step up into the longer lengths. So I'm going to start in the front. Move my way up. So I'm going to come back around to the front, on this side, and up here. So this hair is kind of curled up a little bit more, so I'm just going to clean up the area so that I can get a better grip on those hairs. Because the space between the blade teeth is so small that it'll just push these curls around. And then I'll get a better sense of how I'm actually coming along with the fade. Well, sometimes you just have to stop and like prepare the area again. Just do a quick touch up. So since I'm not gonna do much to the top, I'm really just like going in a small area here, lifting and scooping. There is gonna be disconnection from the sides and the top. Disconnection is where the lines from one section of the hair don't necessarily meet up with the lines from the section of another section of hair. I'm just going to go up over the ear and scoop some of that out as I'm blending in the different sections. Again, I'm going to check side to side. And you can give them a spin. And as you look in the mirror, you can get a better perspective and see how it's coming along. The mirror is your friend. Always use the mirror. It gives perspective. It'll show you every single thing that you might not want to see. But you will get the truth. So we get this really nice fade that's coming together here. So I am going to move on to doing a little bit of clipper over comb. And I mentioned in the start of the video that some people like to use a clipper with a lever on it. And so this is an Andis clipper. It has a lever on the side, and that adjusts the blade length. And I'm going to use it on the lowest setting, and I'm going to use a comb. And so as I go around the sides into the top, I'm going to do just a little bit more blending work by sticking my comb in at the bottom and lifting out. And I'm pulling that hair. So then I'm going to turn my clipper on, and then I'm just going to follow that blade, follow the comb, right? And take it out. Scoop in, lift those hairs in. So I'm going to do it exactly the same way that I did before. Start in the front, tighten that up, and go back around the sides. Right? And then I'm going to come down, following the bone structure, all the way back. Again, following the bone structure around the head, comb in, lift out, comb in, lift out. And so I meet my previously cut section in the back. It's all looking good. I'm gonna check it in the back. In the mirror, I see that I need to do a little bit more work on this side because the mirror doesn't lie. You can see I just changed the angle of the comb. That's because I'm really trying to get in here at the really short hairs that I clippered before and lift out. And if there are any areas that you do want to blend in, like I said, here we are doing disconnection from the sides and the top, I'm gonna just gently put my comb in, down, pull out, and slide across there. So I can blend in a little bit there. So before, when I was creating the fade, I lift in here, pull out, cut across, and if I want to blend the top, I go from the top, I pull it down, and I use the shorter length from the underneath as my guide, right? So I'm gonna put the comb in. You can see the little hairs coming through here at the bottom of the comb. On dark hair also, it helps to use a light colored comb. So I have a white comb on dark hair. You can see those little hairs coming through here, the longer hair here, and I'm just gonna go across. Again, from the top. And kind of pick it out a little bit. See what you got. See what you want to bring in. Push away what you don't. Slide it in. It meets up those little hairs that you already cut. Slide it across. And I'm going to check my balance. It's looking good. Yeah?
Super good.
Check it on the side. Fade is really nice here. In the back, fades come together really nicely there. Got a little bit of blending up here, which also, we've got this nice fade line here that scoops down to meet the bone structure, but then I can meet up with the head shape a little bit more on the top by blending in the back. Create more disconnection through the sides and the fronts, and blend up a little bit higher in the back. Just, personal preference. That's, up to you for your own design. And I'm just gonna use my edger and go in here and really refine and clean up those lines. I'm using a peanut clipper to just get in there and really, the same way that I did before, scooping in and up. Here, I started with a 000, moved into a 1 and a 1A, and then clipper over comb. So I'm just gonna slide my clipper up a little bit, just lightly grazing the line. I'm gonna work around his head, same exact way that I did before. Just very, very lightly going through this. Another way is you can turn the clipper on its side and go in vertically to break up any lines that you might have created between a very short and slightly longer blade. And since he has a beard, I'm gonna go ahead and show how I handle that if this was my client. Say he wants to grow his beard, we're not doing much in terms of actual shaping of the beard. I'm just gonna take this very fine barber comb, slide it in, and just blend it in. I'm just gonna clean up the edges as necessary. Shouldn't be too much, considering how short this hair is. You can really refine some of the work with your edger. Clean up this sideburn. One of the reasons why I like to use a comb like this too is because it's so flexible. So I can put it up against his head and then it bends like this. And the teeth are very, very, very narrow. So I'm gonna put it in and scoop and lift so I don't cut further down into his beard than I want to. So I'm gonna dust him off. Dust him off and see how it looks. So I'm gonna turn him towards the mirror and check my balance. See how everything is. It's good. I think we're all set. Yeah? You like it?
Super good.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Great. So thanks for watching our clipper cut demo today. If you have any questions about the haircut or about anything that you saw today, leave us a question in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.